SHEIN hosted an influencers trip at their factory in China, and it's the biggest load of propaganda crap.
They're borderline gaslighting us into thinking that they're normal. Everything is just so fabricated and everything is so curated. Like you can tell none of this is real.
Influencers, let this be the year that we realize that most brands need us more than we need them.
The fast fashion brand SHEIN has been accused of spreading propaganda after influencers were sent to China to walk around the headquarters of the company's factory to see how their clothes are actually manufactured. Recently, the fast fashion brand SHEIN decided to host a brand trip. They invited influencers and ambassadors to their innovation factory and warehouse, and many people are criticizing the influencers' posts about their trip. Many of these influencers are receiving backlash from people on social media. Let's just say they're getting called out for kissing SHEIN's ass and getting called out for spreading propaganda just for a check.
SHEIN hosted an influencers trip at their factory in China, and it's the biggest load of propaganda crap.
Excited and impressed to see the working conditions. The next day, we headed to the SHEIN Innovation Center. This facility blew my mind. It's over 600,000 square feet. There's so much technology, and SHEIN is just such a developed and complex company, and it was so beautiful to see firsthand. I was able to interview a woman that worked in the fabric cutting department, and you guys know me. She's an investigative journalist, so I asked her all of our questions, and she answered them honestly and authentically. She was very surprised at all the rumors that have been spread in the US.
I'm sorry, did this influencer just say the rumours? The fact that the garment workers are forced to work 17-hour days and their docked pay if the garment is imperfect, a vicious rumour? It gets worse.
I think my biggest takeaway from this trip is to be an independent thinker, get the facts and see it with your own two eyes. There's a narrative fed to us in the US, and I'm one that always likes to be open-minded and seek the truth, so I'm grateful for that about myself, and I hope the same for you.
Just ignoring for a second the fact that this influencer has obviously been paid to say these things. I feel as if though she's almost gaslighting the viewer, because ultimately she's saying if you believe this narrative, these rumours, then you're not an independent thinker, you're just believing the rumours. It really grinds my gears, but she clearly made a bag, so.
For those of you who don't know, SHEIN has repeatedly come under fire for just about everything you can do wrong with a company, including poor working conditions, high levels of toxic chemicals in their clothing, copying independent designers' items and styles from small businesses, and mishandling customer data. There was also one point in time where people started posting about how they found "help me" written on packages from SHEIN, leading people to believe that this was a message or a sign from the workers pleading for help.
Written on the shipping label. The only way fast fashion companies can keep their prices so cheap is by allegedly using child labor in third world countries. They are paid literally pennies a day, if that, with their average monthly salaries being $1.25. As a result of this poor treatment and underpayment, children are suffering worldwide just so we can get cheap shirts.
If you don't know what fast fashion is, it's a business model of replicating trendy styles super fast, producing them at mass scale at a low cost, and then bringing them to retail stores quickly while their demand is high. There are plenty of reasons people are opposed to fast fashion production, and here are just some of the reasons.
That's right. Why would they use cotton, a fabric that's good for the skin and for the environment, when they could use an extremely toxic one that will allow them to profit more? Because of the fabrics that they're using, the clothes that these companies are making don't decompose back into the earth. So cotton, for example, it takes 1 week to 5 months for cotton to decompose once you donate your clothes to Goodwill and they end up in the landfills if they're not, repurchased. That's how long it would take. Linen takes 2 weeks. Denim, it takes anywhere from 10 months to a year. Wool is up to 5 years. But the brands that these companies are using are nylon, polyester, and spandex. Nylon takes 40 years. Polyester takes 20 to 200 years. 200 years for an article of clothing to break down into the world. And spandex is indefinite, it's never going to break down, so it's just gonna sit and pile up. Since the early 2000s, which is when fast fashion has taken over, the textile industry has become the second largest polluter. And like I said in the beginning, they're mass producing these clothes, so they're making hundreds of thousands of styles of clothing a week. And not all of these are being purchased and used, no. So they're just piling up. That's why it's the second largest polluter.
SHEIN is currently one of the biggest fast fashion companies in the world right now, with a valuation that is greater than that of Zara and H&M combined. This last week, SHEIN decided it would be a good idea to fly out a couple of influencers. From what a lot of people have been seeing of what these Instagram influencers have been posting on their social medias, it seems like SHEIN definitely wanted to paint their image back in a good manner, since all this stuff that had come out about SHEIN and their working conditions did come out about a year or two ago, and this has led a lot of people to refrain from purchasing from SHEIN. Danny DMC is an Instagram influencer who is one of the people who were invited to this trip to SHEIN's headquarters. She shared a video documenting her visit. She featured footage from various factories, including one that she referred to as the SHEIN Innovation Center. She also identified as an investigative journalist, and she described SHEIN in a very high manner, which people weren't here for. People were calling Danny out, saying that she was getting paid to say all this stuff and promote SHEIN the way she was doing in this video, and people were just not buying into it.
We're impressed to see the working conditions. The next day, we headed to the SHEIN Innovation Center. This facility blew.
Influencers, let this be the year that we realize that most brands need us more than we need them. If you're not aware, SHEIN hasn't necessarily been getting the best press in the last couple of years. I want to say it was maybe a year and a half ago that an article was released where investigative journalists and different, I think it was like scientists, even were able to see that certain SHEIN clothing had lead pollution, bodily fluids, just all kinds of disgusting things that people wouldn't want from a brand that they're purchasing their clothing from. Aside from that, it's been rumored for years that their workers are working under less than great working conditions. It's interesting that after all the negative press came out about SHEIN, SHEIN never actually, as a brand, provided a statement or any type of defense saying that this is not what we stand for. We've never heard that from SHEIN. But what they've decided to do is put their efforts into influencers instead of handling their own PR crisis. So now the influencers are being PR crisis managers, which is not the role of an influencer. And so I think that we as influencers need to be a little bit more discerning when brand collaborations come through, brand trips come through. You do not need to say yes to all of them, especially a brand that is already in deep water, because what they're looking to do is use your brand credibility to build theirs back up.
There was one article talking about the SHEIN machine, and it said, imagine getting 1 day off a month. Imagine having your first paycheck withheld and docked if you make any mistakes. For workers at one of the thousands of factories who supply SHEIN, the fast fashion valued at more than $80 billion, this is the reality of daily life. Channel 4 also released a documentary about SHEIN. In Channel 4's new documentary, Inside the SHEIN Machine, these grim revelations have been captured on film thanks to the work of an investigative journalist. What she discovers is people pulling 17-hour shifts, often hunched over sewing machines until 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. to make hundreds of garments a day. They make 3 pence per piece on top of a daily base salary of €16.50, which is docked by €12 per piece if they make a mistake. These working conditions contravene the company's own code of conduct as well as the labor laws of China. So when people found one of the influencers known as Danny saying this in her Instagram reel about how she was really impressed to see the working conditions and that SHEIN was such a developed and complex company, people were just like side-eye. People were just like, be for real. Danny was getting a lot of backlash since she was kind of the face of this whole brand, or at least one of the people who were mainly shown across all these videos from the trip. Another influencer who goes by It's Just AJ Love on Instagram also received an invitation to this SHEIN trip, and she echoed similar sentiments to Danny. In a reel discussing her 4th day during the trip, she addressed viewers' concerns about child labor and revealed her findings. And there just seems to be a pattern with all these influencers who were at this trip speaking super highly about SHEIN. All these influencers were getting called for being sellouts for a check, and what's really comical is that majority of these influencers ended up turning off the comments on their Instagrams. Yeah, very telling. I mean, there was even another influencer who has around 4 million followers on TikTok who felt the need to add that the workers are able to get naps during their breaks. which, let's be real, do you actually think a company like SHEIN would allow their workers to take full-on naps as a break?
Of workers there, but honestly I was pleasantly surprised that a lot of the workload was robotic. And you know what's crazy? While Brandon was taking over the position for the moment, the girl was telling me that they get a nap time after lunch. How crazy is that? But anyways, we're headed to the SHEIN headquarters in Singapore, so come back for day 5. Bye!
Dani was the one getting a lot of backlash, and she responded to this entire situation, and here's how she addressed it.
This is like the dark, crazy side of TikTok, and I'm just gonna be honest with you, I'm not the f***ing one. So here's the deal, okay? One, stop telling me to kill myself. I was so for many years being a fat woman. I'll never kill myself. I'm here to stay, okay? Second, I know exactly who the fuck I am. I know exactly what the fuck I'm doing. Third, could never, will never be a sellout ever in life. I was not paid for any trip or to say anything. I was taken on a trip, once in a lifetime chance. You would have done the exact same thing. I have so much more awareness of what's going on behind the scenes than any of you ever could, because you don't see what's going on. 90% of what's in your closet is made in horrible conditions. So you have no right to say anything. Second, I've seen stuff with my own 2 eyes. If you think it's propaganda, that's cool. Again, you've never been to China and you've never seen what's going on. Third, fifth, seventh point, okay? There is so much phobia and racism with everything you guys are saying, and that's what I really learned in China. We are fed propaganda. We are fed a whole line, a whole narrative in the US about Chinese people and Chinese culture, and that China trip honestly changed my life. Even remove the SHEIN stuff, just being able to experience China with Chinese people and learning about that culture. So many things I could say, but I'm gonna let you guys go. Pop your shit, talk your shit, because like I said, I'm not the one. I know who I am. I know exactly what I'm doing, and to be a pioneer, you got to take a lot of shit sometimes. So it is what it is. I have love for everyone who knows me and sees me.
Overall, these influencers have been criticized to the max on all their social media posts about this trip, accusing them of endorsing misleading information or propaganda regarding SHEIN's practices. They're just not buying into what they're having to say in these little Instagram posts, making SHEIN look like this super nice brand, and they're getting called out left and right. Anyways guys, this has been what's been going on with SHEIN and influencers promoting them on this brand trip that SHEIN had flown them out to. I definitely want to know your thoughts in the comments down below. I love you guys so much, and as always, I'll see y'all in the next video.